What's up, Diablo players? So, there's a brand new update for Season 4 that will be coming out very soon, and it is massive. I mean, just look at these patch notes. It is huge. So, this is going to be coming out, by the way, on the 28th. So next Tuesday is when this patch will actually hit. So I'm going to go ahead and summarize and give you guys all the important information really fast. So for starters, there is a very important change that you do not want to go ahead and rank up your masterworking on your items until this update. If you want to go and actually save gold, this is going to be a method to save gold. So basically, things cost way too much gold. I'm sure a lot of you guys ran into that problem. So the important thing is when you are masterworking the item, we no longer have the 5 out of 5. We have 1 through 12 here, and 1 through 4, this is not going to change in terms of the price point. Now, to reroll, it costs 5 million. It is a pretty big investment. Obviously, you want to reroll at the start if you don't happen to hit that certain affix that you want. But there is something very important. When you're going from rank 12, it went from 10 million to 2,500,000. That is a massive, massive change over here. You're saving 7,500,000 gold for each item. So that is huge. If you are going to be playing multiple builds, I would simply just wait for this update and just kind of farm up the material so you'll be ready to go and you will be able to save gold. But if you happen to have billions of gold, which is probably not the case for most players, well, I guess it doesn't really matter too much if you've already maxed out. By the way, if you already did max out, it is going to be something where you don't get any refunds for it. There's also another change with Uber Lilith that I do want to go over that's pretty important for anyone that did want to acquire a spark. So for starters, yeah, that's one of the most important things is just wait till Tuesday specifically so you can save millions and millions of gold. The other update over here, there's a buff and a nerf to a skill, which is kind of interesting. So this doesn't really matter too much. They just display something properly. There's a lot of like patch notes. Oh, now this reads properly or something like that. But this is another change over here. So the surge damage from Sorceress enhanced charged bolts has been increased from 30% to 45%. Does this make the charged bolts now an S tier build? Probably not, I'm going to be honest. I'll test it out later. We can try a build, but I don't think this is going to make the build any meta. And then over here, we also have scattered prisms being buffed over here. So the drop rate is going to be significantly easier because it drops in lots of places. So scattered prisms, if you guys are wondering, are the things that allow you to make sockets in your weapons, jewelry, and armor. They were actually super, super rare, and you had to essentially go to the world boss to really obtain any amount. But now treasure goblins now drop scattered prisms more often. So there is a 30% chance over here in the world tier 4 to go ahead and have one drop. On top of that, world bosses now always drop them, and the amount they are going to be dropping is going to increase. So in world tier 4, you get guaranteed 3. And then also a nice change with the butcher because he never really dropped anything good. A lot of times it would be like 2 sigils and like a legendary. Now they will always drop a scattered prism on defeat, so it actually is worth it to actually go ahead and kill the butcher because a lot of times that thing has so much HP, it simply just wasn't worth doing unless you just wanted to do it for the sake of doing it. There wasn't really any huge incentives, but now scattered prism, it's a pretty useful resource here. And then on top of that, the whisper bounty requirements for defeating Hellborns has been reduced, so this is going to make it easier. So we're going to complete more of the Grim Favors, which means more gold, more other things to open over here. There's a lot of bug fixes. There's a huge amount. Now, I'm not going to go over every single one of these. Most of these are kind of like bug fixes to help with stability on the game, or just kind of things that were annoying, where like you couldn't invite your friends when this was actually in the start of the launch of the game, where you couldn't invite people if they were blood marked, and it would just cause like an issue. It was really annoying, and a bunch of tool tips over here that kind of explain the game a little bit better, I would say. It doesn't really matter too much for the most part, but there are gameplay changes that I do want to go over, and that is actually something important. So as far as the changes that actually matter, there's like a few different druid ones that were actually important. So skills and mechanics. So over here, they fixed a couple issues. I already mentioned the enhanced charge bolt. So what was happening, I guess it was exploding too often. But they are lowering the chance, I guess, of it exploding, but they are going to be making it deal more damage. So, again, I'm not really too sure how high this is actually pushed in the pit. In fact, I don't even think it's on the max roll leaderboard in terms of, like, a charge bolt build. So, this might not matter for, like, the small, like, nerf and buff. But there is a few changes that are important here. So, they fixed an issue with the Druid Spirit Boon overload damage. It was physical instead of lightning damage. That's kind of nice because, well, there's a lot of +2, maybe some sort of elemental or lightning damage for the druid, and if you're scaling that, well, it wasn't really working because it was physical damage, right? And then there's another thing where aspect of the alpha was didn't properly mark the wolves skill as a werewolf skill in game. Well, that's a nice change because this actually does matter. And this is the one I think druid players will be very excited about. So the issue with the boulders, with the dolmen stone, that's the unique amulet, it would stop working properly in some areas where it would get destroyed by projectile destroying entities, so suppressor fields or monster spawn walls. I believe it's like the wind wall that comes up. So that is going to be a massive nice change because, well, if you happen to run a map that says like all the elites happen to have that, well, that build becomes very, very bad. So this is going to be a lot more exciting to actually play. And then on top of that, there's another change where the rapid fire with the Scoundrels Kiss could actually off-screen enemies. So kind of a nerf in a sense, but if you're getting the things to be a little bit more condensed, I guess that'd be a buff, but nonetheless, that's a little bit of a change over there. Now, as far as Bash goes, I was seeing some other people talk about this over on Reddit and stuff, people saying, I'm going to delete my Barbarian. Let me see if I can find it over here, because they actually like changed this several times, but it's not, I guess it's not like updated in here. I guess they might have just removed the text, but there was a change over here that actually got changed because they had to update. I guess this was actually posted on Twitter as well, but I guess they just removed the post. So it was put in here as one of the notes originally, but if you guys were worried about the bash, they said something about like it reading as like multiplicative or additive and it was like backwards or something. They decided to keep it the same, so bash is not nerfed. This is very important, guys. Bash is not nerfed with the Barbarian. And I went ahead and actually found the Twitter post over here. It was by Pez Radar. So Bash is not getting nerfed. They originally had the patch notes here, but then I refreshed it and they disappeared. But the most important thing is it's not getting nerfed, which is very important because everyone thought it was getting nerfed because it was like, well, the way they worded it on the patch note was going to be moving it to additive, which means it doesn't have a multiplier. Basically, if you're playing a Bash Barbarian, you do not need to worry at all about this. It is totally fine. Another thing that I was really surprised about, which was like the Heart Seeker. This over here, this is actually like the older patch notes here from like, I believe, a previous season. But this is not actually getting nerfed over here. The Heart Seeker is not being nerfed. So this is actually good. And then on top of that, a lot of people were wondering if the Holy Bolt Elixir of Holy Bolt, if this was actually getting nerfed. There are no changes with that, so that is a very, very big surprise. So it looks like right now, as far as like the top classes, at least on leaderboards, are pretty much going to be the same. You guys can see over here, like, what are the top builds. This, at least via the max roll one, there's not an official pit leaderboard, but if you're wondering kind of like after this update, are things changing? And the answer is no. Do you see any of the Charge Bolt, Sorceress? No, I don't even know why they changed that. For the most part, it is a nerf and a buff, but if they were like, let's go ahead and add like 400% X multiplicative damage, maybe there would be a reason to get excited, but it still looks like it's mostly going to be Barb, Rogue, and Necromancer, and I don't think things are going to be changing for the high tier pit. There are a few other clears over here. You can see that there's like the Immortal Firebolt Sorceress, but it seems like the meta is going to stay the same, so that's going to go ahead and hopefully address the questions. Is this shifting up the meta? Not really. It is a massive amount of patch notes that did come out, but at the end of the day, yeah, wait to save gold. Wait until Tuesday and you're going to save a bunch of gold. And again, nothing's really changing in terms of the meta, but there is going to be a lot more gold for you guys because it's not going to cost as much, and you're going to get a lot more sockets. Now, as far as gems go, this is another thing that I've definitely noticed, and I'm sure you guys noticed this too. It's just really hard to specifically get enough, like, the gem powder to actually make the other gems. So hopefully they can make some adjustments to that, but I'm curious to know, what would you guys like to see in the maybe next patch as a Diablo partner? I'll try to give him some feedback. I was hoping to see a bigger gameplay update, but the season just came out, so we're not really in the area for the mid-season update for next Tuesday, but when that does come time, I will try to relay that info. So what do you guys want to see changed with Season 4? For me personally, I would like to see a shift up in the meta, or buffing some of the skills that are heavily underutilized, or even some of the brand new uniques that came out into the season. A lot of people simply aren't playing them. Like, some of them got some really great potential, but I would like to see some more of play with some of the newer things that they added into the game, as far as it being somewhat meta. It doesn't have to be the best, just at least somewhat viable. But anyways, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours down below. But if you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like. If you're new here, hit subscribe, turn the bell so you don't miss out when we cover the other update that will be coming out later, mid-season, and more. Take care.